Om Tyageshwaram Ramakrishnam Sharadam Matrarupinim Vivekanandamacharyam Natva Bhakshami Shuddhe. In our last class we discussed Narada's view on how this bhakti manifests in the life of a devotee. He cited other acharyas, Vyasa Maharshi, Garga, Chandelier and all that. And then finally he says, these are the lakshanas in which bhakti manifests itself in the life of a devotee. Tadarpita akhila acharata, tad vismarane parama vyakulata. Two characteristics Narada gives. Any person who develops devotion, this parabhakti, we are talking of parabhakti, so supreme love for God. Any person who develops will have these two characteristics in his or her life. One was tad vismarane parama vyakula, that is extreme anguish when there is forgetfulness about God, when God is forgotten, when the devotee is not in touch with God, so to say, there is extreme anguish. And about that, there were two opinions. One is, it's just a way of saying because a parabhakta can logically never forget God. A parabhakta, supreme devotee, cannot forget God. So this is a way of saying that he loves God so much. But the other opinion is that, after all, the body and mind, these are part of nature. So in the course of nature, it may so happen that there could be momentary forgetfulness of God. And when that happens, there is extreme anguish, extreme pain for that devotee. That is the characteristic, one of the characteristics of parabhakti. What we understand from that is, this is a marker or a gauge for us to progress, how much we have developed. That is, we really feel pain when we forget about, I'm not talking of just forgetfulness of God, but our spiritual practices. Say, in the course of time, sometimes we have to miss our spiritual practices or miss our swadhyaya, miss our parayana, whatever spiritual practices we perform. If we miss them, do we feel sad about it? It's a gauge, an indicator to know how we are progressing. The ideal is, even a fraction of a second of forgetfulness of God will generate extreme anguish, extreme pain in the heart of the devotee. That was the one characteristic. The other characteristic was tadarpita akhila acharata. We were discussing that. It's an abstract noun which says a sense of dedication, a spirit of dedication, arpana, towards God in akhila achara, in all activities. A spirit of dedication to God in all activities. This is characteristic of a parabhakta. For us, it becomes a sadhana. So a parabhakta has reached such a stage where whatever he or she thinks, does, speaks, will be in a spirit of dedication unto God, will be for God. That has become a natural stage for a parabhakta. And for us, it becomes sadhana. We can practice this. This is something we can practice. This parama vyakulata, feeling anguish at forgetfulness of God, we cannot practice it. That's why it's called an indicator. It just shows how much we have progressed. We cannot practice it. But this tadarpita akhila acharata, developing a spirit of dedication unto God in all activities, that is something we can practice. To a point we can practice. So we saw this, Narada using very carefully the word akhila acharata. That is all activities. Our so-called sacred activities, religious activities we have to offer to God. Our secular activities, what we do for living, that also we have to offer to God. Even sharira dharana karma, the work meant just for maintenance of the body, health and hygiene, that also we have to offer to God. So all activities. Narada does not make any distinction. Earlier he made distinction, but here he is not making any distinction. He says Akhila Achara. All activities have to be dedicated to God, and all activities also mean the bodily activities, verbal activities, and mental activities. What we think, that also is to be offered to God. What we speak is to be offered to God. What we do is also to be offered to God. That is the practice. The one thing we have to understand, this does not absolve us from practicing discrimination. We have to discriminate. One cannot say, I am going to offer everything to God so I can live the way I want. One cannot say that. One has to practice discrimination, define the sphere of activity, so to say. The Nishiddha karmas have to be given up. The karmas prompted by greed are to be given up. We have to restrict that sphere of activity to what is called kartavya karma, our duties and works meant for social good. Our religious observances, these only should be the sphere of activity. So just because we are going to offer, it doesn't give us a license to live whatever way we want. This particular practice is described in Bhagavad Gita also. Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter onwards, we get this. Dedication. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chasa. Dedicate all actions unto me. And this practice goes very well hand in hand with another practice which is also prescribed by scriptures. That is practice of repeating God's name continuously as much as possible whenever we remember. Whenever we remember, keep repeating the name of the Lord. This practice is also like that. For this, we don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to buy anything. We don't have to spend anything to practice dedication of all actions to God. And so also, we don't have to do anything extra to repeat name of the Lord as much as possible continuously. So both these practices go hand in hand. They are quite useful practices. And of course, Swamijis and other teachers have told how we can go about it, because they have given practical hints. So if you just say, I will start dedicating all actions unto God, it won't work out. So to say first, the beginner, end of the day or the beginning of the day, you just go in your mind through all that we have done in the last 12 hours or 24 hours. Whichever, which are staying in the night, then 12 hours. Next day morning will be 24 hours. So whatever we have gone through, just remember everything. And then sincerely pray to God and offer all those actions, the results, and ourselves, the karta, everything to God. This is how they say one has to begin to practice this. So end of the day, just go through the entire day and say, this is all I have done today. I offer it unto you. All activities, whatever those are. That's the beginning. Then as Raja Maharaj Brahmanandaji says, second stage it happens actually. During the course of the day, we will come to a point where we can really find that gap between two activities. Now it's like morning it starts and it ends only at the end of the day. We feel that there's no gap between two activities. But as we practice this everyday dedication and repeating name of the Lord, we will find those gaps between two activities. That is where the next stage comes, where in the beginning of the activity, we pray to God. This is what I am going to do. Give me the strength to do it in a spirit of dedication. And when the activity is over, we again pray to God, offer that activity, its results, and ourselves to God. So the whole day gets kind of broken up into small pieces. That happens the second stage, and the last stage is where this spirit of dedication, it gets imbibed, and there is no more offering of results at the end of the work or end of the day. We can feel the sense of dedication as we are performing the activity. That it happens. We cannot practice it. We'll feel that this is God's work. Whatever work it's after all, every work belongs to God. We have not created anything. We can't create even an atom. Everything belongs to God. But it's kind of discovering. The sense of dedication automatically will well up, so to say, in our heart, that we are doing this for God. Here we offer the work and its results and ourselves. Mainly the ownership of the work is offered to God. So these are the three stages, so to say, in this Tadarpita Akhila Acharata. Tapasyanji, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, he gives two stages of this discipline of dedicating actions to God. So that first stage is where we offer the action and its results to God. And that matures into offering of the agency itself to God. Now that we cannot offer. We can mentally say, yes, I'm offering myself unto you. But that again has to happen. The sense of agency is offered to God, where the doer feels that I'm not the agent. The agency goes to God, and that person is able to really see that it is God who is working through this apparatus. So that dedication of sense of agency is the last stage, so to say. Before that comes dedication of the work and its results and its ownership, so to say. This is a practice. Many questions, when we start practicing, many questions will come, and then by God's grace, those questions will be realized. It is something that one has to feel within as one practices. So this is one of the indication which Narada Maharshi has given as being the characteristic of a parabhakta. Sense of dedication to God of all the activities, and extreme anguish at the forgetfulness of God. After this, he is going to strengthen his view. So he says, Asti evam evam. That is the next sutra. Asti evam evam. He says, yes, he is asserting, this is how it is. Yes, this is how it is. Yes, this is so. Yes, this is so. It is a fact that in a parabhakta, there is complete dedication of all activities unto God and extreme anguish at forgetfulness of God. So he asserts this. And to augment, he gives one example. So the next sutra is Yatha Vraja Gopikanam. Yatha, as was the case of Vraja Gopis. See, this no treatise on Bhakti can really do without quoting these Vraja Gopis. They have such a stature in this Bhakti cult and this marga, the path of Bhakti, that no treatise on Bhakti can be complete unless Gopis are referred to. So here Narada is quoting the example of Gopis, Vraja Gopis, their love for Krishna and how these characteristics were manifest in the lives of the Gopis. That's what he is trying to tell. See, when it comes to these Gopis, they had a particular relationship with Krishna. That relationship is called Madhura Bhava. Madhura Bhava, or sweet mood, sweet attitude, whatever you call it, Madhura Bhava. So in that context, we would just briefly describe these bhavas or attitudes. In the world, we interact with different individuals, and our equations are different. Our relations are different. father, mother, children, wife and husband, master, servant, stranger. We have different equations, different relations with different people in the world. Bhakti scriptures say that you direct these towards God. Whatever equations, whatever relations we have, direct these towards God. Because almost all of these relations have some element of love involved in them. So you want to love God with a specific relation. And we are already aware of these relations. So they say you use that knowledge of yours and turn it towards God and love God with a particular bhava, particular relation, particular equation, particular mood. There could be innumerable moods because we ourselves have innumerable relations with the world. But these bhaktis, acharyas, they have classified or listed mainly 5 moods, 5 bhavas, with which a devotee can relate himself or herself with God and love God with that particular relation, in the light of that particular relation. So devotee relates to God in a particular relation and loves God in the light of that particular relation. The first is Shanta. In our worldly example, we can say it is the attitude that we have towards the stranger, a gentleman or a lady. We interact. We extend all the courtesies. We are polite, and that attitude towards God, that is called Shanta Bhava, quiet attitude. There is respect. There is basic etiquettes are followed and all that. And Sri Ramakrishna says the Upanishadic rishis had this bhava towards God, Shanta Bhava, quiet attitude. The next is Dasya, that attitude of a servant toward the master. So the devotee feels himself or herself to be a servant of God, servant of God, and loves God as a servant loves master. There is love between servant and master. So the devotee thinks himself or herself to be a servant of God and loves God with that attitude. An example of this bhava is famous Anjaneya. He was the eternal servant of God. So that is the Dasya bhava. The next is Sakhya bhava. That is, the devotee treats God as his or her friend. There is love between friends. So we love God as we love our friend. An example of this bhava are Sudama, Arjuna and all that. They loved God as their friend. So the devotee loves God as his or her friend. That is the Sakhya bhava. Then there is Vatsalya bhava. That is loving God as one's child. Mother's love for child is universal and well known. So loving God as one's own child, that is practicing Vatsalya bhava. And of course the example is of Yashoda. And the last of these is what the gopis had. That is that Mudhura bhava. The love that a woman feels for her husband or for her lover. That is Mudhura bhava. So to love God as one's own husband or lover, that is Mudhura bhava. These are the 5 attitudes listed by these Bhakti Acharyas. So in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we find one more attitude called Santana bhava. We treat ourselves as a child of God and love God as a child loves its father or whatever, or mother, whatever is one's ishta. So Santana bhava is another which Sri Ramakrishna himself practiced. There are all these bhavas, and there is some kind of gradation with them. Some kind of gradation because one is included in the other, so to say. This, if you think of Dasya Bhava, a servant serves the master. But when you come to Sakhya, we feel that this Dasya Bhava is sort of included in Sakhya Bhava. Friend serves, helps his or her friend also, plus gives counsel also, gives advice. A servant cannot give advice to the master, but a friend can give. And friend can also help, also serve. Mother can be all the three. She can shower motherly love, serve, give counsel, everything. And then the relation between wife and husband, or wife and or woman and her lover, it includes all of them. So there is this gradation, which we should choose and why we should choose, whether we should choose. Okay, the Bhakti scriptures say that, yes, since you want to love God, it is better you choose a particular bhava and love God with that bhava. You will have some framework. Your emotions will be channelized. These are sort of channels to express or to practice or for the flow of our love towards God. These bhavas are channels. So they say you choose a channel that will help you strengthen your love towards God. The love will get a framework. And that's why they say you choose some bhava, some equation with which you want to love God. That will be some kind of a support, a framework. That is why they say better choose something, choose something. Which one, which is good, which is less good and all that. Say it is one's own innate feeling. Some people like coffee, some people like tea, some people like this color, some people like that color. It's our choice. It's innate within us. So also these bhavas, the relation with which we will love God is innate within us. There is no need to choose. We will understand it ourselves. When we start loving God, we will understand with what bhava we are more comfortable loving God. Which bhava expresses more our equation with God. So it is innate. There is no lesser or higher, inferior or superior in these bhavas. It is innate. And each of these is self-sufficient. As I said, there is gradation, yes, but there is no need of graduation. It is not that devotee starts with Shanta Bhava, then graduates to Dasya, then Sakhya. No, there is no need. Each of these is complete within itself. A devotee who starts with any of the bhavas, that bhava is capable of leading that devotee up to the highest experience of parabhakti. So there is no need of changing or graduating from one bhava to another. There is no such method, there is no such need, there is no such practice, there is no such experience also. Each bhava is independent, self-contained. Sri Ramakrishna advised that Santana Bhava is the safest. Thinking oneself to be a child of God, that is the safest and sweetest of all the bhavas. He also said Dasya Bhava is also fine. But Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, all of them, they said that Madhura Bhava should be avoided by most of the devotees. Because this Madhura Bhava, as I said, is a love between a woman and her husband or her lover directed towards God. They say that unless one is absolutely pure, one should not venture or even think of venturing into practicing Madhura Bhava, into developing this kind of attitude towards God, unless one is absolutely pure. So they have advised this to prohibited one, that is Madhura Bhava. Narada has given this example because that is, of course, the acme. Again, we will see there is a lot of things to talk about this particular example of gopis. We'll see in our next class. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.